Hello and welcome to Nerd Subculture. I'm your host, Jarrod.
And I'm Edwina.
And you'll be listening to this. This is our You're Watching That Again podcast series on films and TV shows. Well, no, just films, isn't it?
Yeah, this is just films.
Just films. We're doing another TV show thing.
We've got another podcast for TV shows.
If you like
this
Buffy, you can go listen to that. I don't, but Eddie does.
You're starting to like it.
I don't know. But today, Eddie, I'm not doing Buffy. We are doing X-Men Days of Future Past, Eddie. This film first was released in 2014, directed by Bryan Singer, and everyone's in this movie. Do I need to go through it all? Hugh Jackman, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Halle Berry, Nicholas Hoult. I'm just going to stop there, okay? Because we'll be here all night. This podcast will go forever. Yeah. Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen.
All the main players.
Everyone's in it.
Everyone's in it.
Everyone's in it.
All right. Warning, this is a full spoiler podcast. If you haven't seen this movie or any of the X-Men movies, because I'm going to talk about some other X-Men movies in this one.
Full spoilers. Alert.
Please come back later. Or please come back when you have watched it.
Yeah.
We discuss our favourite movies here, and
so this is
these are the ones that we've seen way too many times.
Yeah, I don't know about way too many. I could say some of these films I've probably seen maybe under half a dozen times, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not as bad as what it was when I was a kid.
These are just they're not the high art movies that
No, not highbrow. Nothing too highbrow on this channel. It's just we're keeping it simple. We all love the X-Men. We love the X-Men movies.
Yeah. So we have skipped over a few movies in the X-Men series to get to Days of Future Past. But it doesn't really matter because this movie, A, makes you feel like you've missed a movie, and B, actually makes most of those movies completely it retcons it retcons three of them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Other than First Class, the other movies didn't happen.
It's an urban legend that never happened.
So I actually watched all the movies leading up to doing this podcast to get myself back up to speed, so that you didn't have to. But maybe you should have.
Well, we watched the Wolverine one again, didn't we?
Yeah. So we actually saw this movie at the cinemas.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. When it came out, and.
We didn't see First Class.
No,
we skipped that one, didn't we?
So the reason I think we didn't see First Class is because I was kind of unsure of what First Class actually was, like whether it was a reboot, like a reboot, seaboot.
Yeah, sequel reboot.
Yeah,
it wasn't really clear what they were doing.
Yeah,
with
so
their
I
characters.
thought after X-Men Origins. So originally I think they was going to do these origin stories. So they started with Wolverine, and then I think there was meant to be one on Storm, and then there was meant to be one on Jean Grey, and they're supposed to be like this series of origin stories.
Wow, okay.
But when X-Men Wolverine Origins didn't work because it's a terrible movie, It makes so many mistakes, and it actually causes there are plot holes in Days of Future Past that are basically just caused by the existence of X-Men Origins, because whoever created X-Men Origins hadn't actually read an X-Men comic.
Yeah, I mean, changing Sabretooth to be his brother, even though the Sabretooth was in the previous movie. I don't mind it was a different actor, but they completely changed the character.
Yeah.
Which is a bit weird to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if it needed to be. Was he actually his brother?
Half brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was necessary. But anyway. They made two Wolverine movies, though.
Yeah, and then they did The Wolverine, but that takes place after the events of X-Men 3.
Right.
And to be honest, out of all of them, First Class is definitely the better one, which is why they didn't retcon that one.
No. Yeah.
But X-Men 3 makes so many mistakes. And I'll get into that later.
Yeah, so before we get into the summary and the crux, just a quick go around. And what was it like the first time you watched it? What was it like rewatching it?
I remember being blown away when we left the theatre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I
Yeah,
thought,
the
wow,
fact-
that
the
was
fact-
a really good movie.
The fact that opening scene where like they pretty much kill,
Balls to the wall. Yeah,
they
opening.
kill every main character. Like everyone dies in that opening scene, and you're just like sitting there going, "What the hell is this movie?" Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the same with me. First time I saw it was great, and rewatching it, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and it still holds up. It still hasn't aged at all. You would have thought this film would come out last year or something, or this year. So yeah, really good film. But let's just get to a quick summary, and we'll get back to it, Eddie. In the far-out future, in the dystopian year of 2023, Sentinels, lethal robots, are programmed to hunt and kill mutants and their allies. In Moscow, a group of surviving X-Men led by Kitty Pryde faces an attack. Sacrificing themselves, they buy time for Bishop's consciousness to be sent back in time to warn the others. The group retreats to a remote Chinese temple, joined by Storm, Wolverine, Professor Xavier, and Magneto. Xavier reveals the origin of Sentinels and plans to change the future by preventing an assassination. Wolverine volunteers to go back in time due to his regenerative abilities. In 1973, Wolverine learns the X-Mansion is closed, Xavier is a broken mess hooked on a serum that allows him to walk but removes his powers, and Magneto is imprisoned in the Pentagon. An angry, depressed Xavier reluctantly agrees to help Wolverine, hoping to reunite with Raven, who is now going by the name Mystique. They recruit Quicksilver and break Magneto out of prison. Mystique discovers Trask's mutant experiments and plans to assassinate him. Xavier, by McCoy, and Logan thwart her attempt but expose themselves as mutants. Magneto attempts to kill Mystique to stop the dark future from occurring. Trask uses the mutant exposure to convince President Nixon to authorize the Sentinel program. Xavier abandons the serum and communicates with his future self through Logan's mind to break him out of his existential crisis. They locate Mystique using Cerebro and travel to Washington, D.C. During a ceremony at the White House, a battle ensues with Magneto, who has sabotaged and taken control of the Sentinels by infusing them with steel. He impales Logan and barricades the White House with a stadium. In 2023, the X-Men fight the Sentinels at the Temple. In 1973, Raven saves Nixon and his cabinet but spares Trask due to Xavier's influence. The Sentinel program is decommissioned and Trask is arrested for selling military secrets, altering the future. Wolverine awakens in 2023 to find that Xavier's school is thriving and the X-Men are all alive, including Jean Grey and Scott Summers. He seeks information about modern history from Xavier. Back in 1973, Raven, disguised as Stryker, rescues the younger Logan. Roll credits. Oh, and also there's no end credit scene with Apocalypse. Before you go on, can I just say...
Four Horsemen.
was that probably the most slapped-on end credit scene you've seen? Because I didn't even have the actor for it. I just painted him blue. He looked like the engineer guy from Prometheus.
Yeah. Well, the movie The Mummy, they ended up changing their design of the mummy because it looked like the end credit Apocalypse. Yeah.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, but I know. I just always felt that out of all the end credit scenes, of all the ones that sort of looked like something was coming or cool, that one just seemed so slapped on because like it was nothing like what the film was like. So it just seemed like they had no idea what they're going to do. They're just going to have this character, and we'll do something. We'll work it out later.
It was that thing where they could have ended. It didn't need a end credit scene. Like they honestly could have ended the X-Men.
Well, they did it with the other ones,
here.
did they? So was that the no? They did it with the Wolverine, didn't they? Yeah, saw Deadpool at the end.
No.
No.
At the end of the Wolverine, you have this very weird scene where it sort of explains how Xavier's back.
Oh no, Origins. I mean Origins.
Origins. Yeah, it had
Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the previous three films had no end credit scene. So going with the trend, I think, is what they did. And like, oh, we're going to do an end credit scene. Oh, we're doing Apocalypto. Let's just like have some guy painted blue. There, done.
Yeah, in Egypt.
In Egypt.
In Egypt. Don't really show his face. Just
no, because we're going to recast him anyway. So
yeah, just have the Four Horsemen in the background.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll do.
Yeah, like, honestly, I don't think they needed to have an end credit scene.
But it's a trend to do one because people are expecting it now. Like, oh, you don't do an end credit scene?
It's probably that thing where at the time, because of the Avengers, movies weren't doing trilogies anymore. They were all moving away. Like it used to be the old trend. You did 3 movies in a series and that was it. You were done. There was no more story to tell. But with what the MCU did, where you create this universe where you have lots of different characters all within the universe, and then you can do like the big blockbuster movie where they all meet up.
Yeah.
And that was the trend. So I think they were kind of going along with that, where they decided to start, to actually fully turn it into this franchise.
And it all went downhill from there.
And then they added this end credit scene. And then,
you could almost say the X-Men films went down from that scene onwards. The end credit scene on Days of Future Past is where things just...
Except Logan. The movie Logan.
Oh, I can't remember that end credit scene.
Oh, no. It doesn't have an end credit scene.
There you go. All right.
No, but I'm saying that the movie Logan is actually...
Didn't need one.
Really good and is a really good end to the X-Men series. It just didn't need Dark Phoenix and the X-Men Apocalypse.
They did that twice, didn't they? And failed every time.
It just never worked because they never get it quite right. And why it doesn't work in X-Men 3 is because they just needed to focus on the Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
So X-Men 3...
There was too much going on, wasn't there?
There was too much going on. They had this whole Cure storyline going on. They killed... X-Men 3 makes... its biggest mistake is it kills off or it takes out of commission a number of the X-Men, pretty much. Within, the first 10 minutes of the movie. You lose you lose Xavier, you lose... Cyclops, and the end battle, the Brotherhood have thousands of mutants.
All of a sudden,
Yeah, so the Brotherhood have these thousands of mutants, and the X-Men there's 6 of them. Yeah. There's only 6 of them. I'm like, there's a whole school of mutant kids. Like, why aren't they there? I know they're kids, but still, that last scene... that scene, the battle scene that's meant to be the last stand, and there's literally only 6 of them. Again, it felt like they needed to introduce the Sentinels, move well away from the bloody Dark Phoenix storyline.
Well, talking about the Sentinels, so I'd never really known anything about that storyline or anything. So coming into this film... I'd always felt like I'd missed a movie.
Oh, actually, you know what? They do have the Sentinels in X-Men 3, but it's it's in the danger room. It's like a robot.
Oh, yeah, the danger room. Yeah. Well, they're not really the Sentinels, are they?
Yeah. Oh, I think they're sort of meant to be they're sort of meant to be the Sentinels, but they're not.
Well, I didn't know anything about the Sentinels plot line. So, coming into this film just felt like I'd actually missed a film, which actually kind of feel like would have been a good movie. Yeah. Where they've actually got together and lost. Yeah. Almost like could have been like an Empire Strikes Back sort of film where they come out of it, defeated, or Infinity War, or what was the first one? Is Infinity War?
Yeah, Infinity War.
Yeah. It would have had that sort of feel to it.
Where they lost, Yeah,
where they didn't win. They're going to win next week, but if it's still... but maybe in a way that's better they didn't drag it out for 2 films. They could have easily done that, though. They could have easily sort of built this across two movies. Yeah. And I felt like it would have been a big event. I think if they were to do it now, that's what they definitely would do. Drag it out for a whole 5 years or something, building the Sentinels. Yeah.
So the Sentinels were a big part of the cartoon series. So the influence for this is, of course, the Days of Future Past in the is it Uncanny X-Men?
I think so, yeah.
And it's Kitty Pryde is the one. She goes back in time, but in her own body. Yeah. And then my memory of this storyline is actually from the cartoon series, and it's Bishop who goes back in time with Kitty Pryde's not involved at all. So it's funny in this movie that they use Kitty Pryde and Bishop together to go back in time, like in that opening scene.
Right, yeah.
So...
again, it's like poetry. It's sort of they rhyme.
So just on Bishop, did you know he is actually meant to be Aborigine?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
His parents were born in Australia, and then he was during the Sentinel program. He was ushered off. He's got a weird sort of storyline, like it's like a backwards universe thing, where he was from another universe or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
It gets kind of out there.
Yeah. But you know, this movie, you know, it has that, as I said, it has this great opening sequence where you don't really know what's going on.
I'd say probably the best opening sequence to a comic book movie. I'd say that have just off the head, I can't think of anything where it just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
The first 5 minutes they're fighting and dying.
Yeah. They're not winning. They are outmatched.
Yeah.
And it really sets up the stakes of what's at stake in this movie.
Yeah, it does.
Is that they're the ones being hunted. Mm-hmm. You know, they're pretty helpless at the moment. They are living they're scavenging off on the edges of society at this point.
And it seems like they picked these, I don't know whether they picked these mutants on purpose, but these mutants are pretty strong.
Yeah.
Like it's not just a kid who can poke out a forked tongue. Mm-hmm. Like this is like, you got the Bing Bing girl. What's it?
Blink.
Blink, the teleporting thing. You got the Human Torch guy.
Yeah, Hotspot. Sunspot, sorry.
Sunspot.
Yep.
And then you got Colossus, and then so you got some pretty strong mutants, and they just get their asses absolutely handed to them. Even Frozone gets screwed.
Yep, Frozone. Iceman. Yeah,
he does a bit of Frozone in there.
Yeah. And and then you've sort of also get the ticking clock when she sends Wolverine back. You've got this real ticking clock going, like how long is it until, because they pretty much are like, the Sentinels always come, the only defense we have is this going back in time.
Yeah.
And
the only way they survived is by
and they're like,
cheating virtually.
Yeah. And they're like, this is the only way we can do it.
And it doesn't last that long.
Yeah. And she's like, I don't know how long we can do it for. So yeah, it's a great way of setting up the stakes and the tension in it.
Yeah, it's really there, isn't it? Like all their power and everything, and they're still as vulnerable as a child virtually.
Yeah. And you know it, and you know things are bad when that opening scene where you see, I think it's the Professor, Wolverine, Storm, and then Magneto. Yeah. And then Magneto appears and you're like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, they are working together.
Yeah.
And things are bad when they start working together.
Yeah, that's true. They only work together when there's like an existential crisis that affects both of them.
Yeah. Or when they were both wrong.
And on that note, for the love of God, you can't trust that guy.
Yes. Yes.
Can we mention that? Can we talk about this for a second? Mm-hmm. How every movie he's double-crossed him.
Yeah.
Every movie he's in, he's always double. I mean, apart from the future self, but
it is that thing where they sort of have this metaphorical game of chess going on, but you kind of know that Magneto's always like 3 steps ahead, about to stab him in the back.
Yeah, and then it brings up to the point why they even brought him along.
Mm.
Why did they even get Magneto in the past? It seemed like he didn't really do anything.
Yeah,
it was because they believed that they would need both of them to convince her.
Yeah.
But in the end, Xavier just to convince her.
But even old Magneto should have said, "Yeah, don't get me."
Well, that's another thing too. Magneto in the present should have said,
maybe leave me out of it.
Maybe you don't need me.
Yeah.
Just use Xavier, because that really set the whole scenes in motion to lead up to the big, huge climactic ending and the mutants being exposed, which is also something they kind of left out a plot hole, or because they were completely exposed in the 70s instead of when they were later exposed.
Well, they weren't really later it was sort of the Nightcrawler was sort of their exposure.
Yeah, but that's like 20 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometime later. But yeah, again, getting Magneto involved was just a horrible idea, and he just made everything worse and almost caused it all. And surprising he didn't. Even when it almost felt a little moot at the end, her not shooting Trask, considering everything Magneto had just did.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, the fact that he actually threatened the president and brought a whole big stadium over for some reason, And
It's kind of, I think it was just there so that no one else could come in, sort of to trap everyone in there. Yeah, there's also, like, I had a lot of issues trying to pick my favourite fight scene for this movie as well, because there are so many great action sequences. And I don't know what they did with the Mystique. Nearly every fight scene that she's in, she's just freaking killing it.
yeah, love the leg grabs. Always going for a leg grab.
Oh, but I think it's like there was one where she's using the guy as a shield and then she uses it like, and it ends up like flinging him as a weapon and then does this slide and...
Under the table. I like that one.
Yeah. No, it's really good. So I'll move on to, what do you think the cultural impact of this movie was?
The cultural impact?
What does it have one?
I don't know. I don't... probably not, I'd say, if I was to say a cultural impact. What do you mean by that, though? What's a cultural impact? Give me an example of a cultural impact.
Oh, like, like the MCU universe, the original Star Wars movies, like things that are big in pop culture sort of influenced other movies.
Yeah, I probably would say no, actually. I don't think it really did. I can't really... It was probably the peak of the X-Men. I think it really peaked at this point and then significantly went downhill.
To the point where I was almost skeptical on watching Logan.
No, I had faith in that. Probably a few of the actors gave their careers a big boost. If I was to say Jennifer Lawrence and Nicholas Hoult, probably their careers have sort of bloomed since they were in these films.
Yeah.
Because she after this film, or after the first X-Men, she did the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So, which is interesting because by the time I do the other two films, she's barely in it. She's a bit too big for the film now.
Oh, that's right. They kill her off,
and she doesn't wear the makeup as well. If you notice,
yeah. She doesn't. She barely wears it in. Yeah, I think they changed the way that they do it, and it's like a suit that she's wearing, and apparently doing it as a suit and then adding in CGI. Ended up instead of it being an 8-hour makeup process, it changed it down to 3 hours.
Right. Yeah. So only 3 hours.
And in the next, what is it in Dark Phoenix? She wears clothes.
Yeah.
So they don't have to do
yeah. And
so all they have to do is her hands and face.
Yeah.
And then they kill her off.
And then they kill her off in the first, So she was really done with it. You could tell. Like her star power was bigger than the X-Men at that stage. So she had clearly moved on.
And you could tell, I think I straight away went, oh yeah. She doesn't want to do these movies anymore.
She's done.
She's done.
I'm out of here.
I think it's because of the way she dies so stupidly, Yeah, after the way that you see her in this movie, and she's an absolute badass, and then she just gets taken out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm dead.
Yes.
But back to your question, Eddie. Yeah, I'd say I would probably say no to that question. What about you? Do you think it does, or?
I'm surprised it didn't start this kind of time traveling to remove movies that don't work anymore. Because you know what would be really great if Star Wars did a time travel movie and deleted one of their movies.
Oh, their trilogies.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you have the old with the new, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, did that happen with something else? I feel like it did, but I can't think of it. Will you have
Spider-Man?
I guess, yeah. I'm thinking different generational actors. So having, obviously McAvoy and Stewart being...
I sort of think the Flash has done something like that.
The recent one?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I keep seeing all the alternate old Supermans and all the old Batmans.
Yeah, I'm just specifically talking about older, the same actor that plays the same character, like a generational gap between the two.
Okay, so not like a different universe.
No, as I said, like McAvoy and Stewart meeting.
Yeah.
So generational actors, what I'm trying to say. And I think there's something, but I can't put my finger on it, where they meet somehow. Because that is a really cool scene as well, where they meet.
Yeah.
So I don't know how other characters would have done that or something, but maybe come back to that, popping our head just towards the end. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll quickly talk about some plot holes that occur. And it's mainly because of X-Men Origins.
Yes.
In X-Men Origins, there's a character who I think it's meant to be Emma Frost from First Class, but it's not Emma Frost.
Is that the Diamond Girl?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's not her. But yeah, it's Silver Fox's sister, but she has the same power, and I think they've just sort of tried to say it's not her because of the time difference. It wouldn't work because she's a teenager in that, and then she's a fully grown adult. So X-Men First Class is set in 1962, and then X-Men Wolverine Origins is set in 1979.
Right.
And she's a teenager in 1979, but a
Okay,
fully grown adult in 1960.
60, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So she got younger.
Somehow.
Okay.
And completely changed her look and attitude and
Yeah.
powers and all of that. But yeah, people are quite willing to just agree that X-Men Origins, just Wolverine Origins,
Okay, yeah.
just doesn't exist.
All right, yeah. Done.
Because it also destroys the biggest crime that it does is it destroys the character of Deadpool.
Yeah. Did Deadpool dirty on that one, didn't they?
Yeah, like take the merc with the mouth and then remove his mouth.
Even just the design of the character was awful too.
Yeah.
There's actually a little scene in Deadpool where he's holding a figurine of that that character.
Yeah. So I am glad that Ryan Reynolds got to do Deadpool justice in the Deadpool
The interesting
movie.
part is apparently really had to push. He had to push for a hard R. He had to push the film in general, I guess. I think it might have been he did like a little preview or something to get the ball rolling, to get sort of interest in people. They're saying this is what people want, give them what they want.
Yeah.
They want Deadpool.
Because
he was the hell that was.
Yeah, because he was a big fan of Deadpool.
Yeah.
And he wanted, the merc with the mouth. And we got that. And it's a great movie.
Yeah.
And
another one's coming soon.
Yeah,
Looking
with
forward to that.
Wolverine in
With
it.
Wolverine in it. I have the feeling he's going to be like universe jumping and just completely destroying the X-Men and whatnot.
Yeah. So, and Deadpool ended up having a bit of fun with time travel as well. I'm glad that Deadpool got its chance and got the hard R. That's the other thing is, the aesthetics of this movie are very sanitized.
Yeah.
The aesthetics are very sanitized to a comic book movie. Like there's not a lot of blood. The way that the characters all die horrifically in that first scene.
But they're all frozen.
But they're either ice or fire
or steel.
or steel.
when they're ripped apart. So it's very, as you said, very sanitized. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a few stabbings, but it goes through them. You don't see any. There's no blood and gore.
No, yeah.
Not like in Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's a very comic book.
Well, they want the PG rating,
Yeah.
so and this movie was rated PG.
Yeah.
We get the one F-bomb.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, he actually misquoted that.
Yeah.
When he said that. I remember the last time he said, I'm going to say to you what you said to me. Fuck off. And he didn't say fuck off. He said, go fuck yourself. That's not what he said. My reader, my ass.
Yes, yeah. It does. So, it's weird how the look of this film. It's a very the futuristic scenes take the look of the first three movies.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men 1, 2, and 3. So it takes a lot of the look from that. Its tone is sort of from those three movies, and then when they go back in time, you get that the way that First Class
Weird
looked.
filter.
Yeah.
It's not Mexico, but it's
Yes.
It's it had a graininess to it to make it look like it was the 70s, and it was a nice touch, I think.
Yeah. So you get that through the time jump.
They didn't quite lean into the cultural references of the 70s, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
Because it kind of seems to sort of shoveled in sometimes.
It can kind of age a movie though when you do that.
Yeah. But I mean, off the time of the 70s, like,
Yeah.
no, oh, well, funky out, man. Like, there's no.
Oh, they do that a little bit. Like, you're on a bad acid trip.
Oh, no, that was great. You had some really bad acid.
You took some bad acid.
Hearing that coming from Xavier, it's like hearing your dad say, like seeing your dad when he's young.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what I feel when I see James McAvoy playing Xavier. It's like seeing your dad when he was young and like he was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
You're on that bad acid. How do you know what bad acid's like?
Yeah.
You're on acid. Somebody gave you really bad acid.
All right, what else we got?
All right, I was going to talk about the cast
All
and the
right.
characters so that we can go a bit more into...
Yeah, this is going to have to be a two-parter, I think. Where do we start the cast? Oh, my God. Just even was mentioned with the other X-Men movies, but they just added to this.
Yeah. So as we said at the start, pretty much the entire cast returns for this movie.
Yeah.
Everyone comes back. Even the dead ones come back. Even ones that are dead come back for this movie. Some do get... It's actually easier to say who's notably missing and don't get a mention. And there's only two.
Ray Park and...
No, he's
Sabretooth?
dead. They're dead. They're dead. They're dead from the first movie.
Oh. He didn't die. He just got electrocuted.
They're dead. The notable missing elements are Pyro and Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, yeah, they couldn't get him back for the other film, and but they do bring him back for Apocalypse, don't they?
Yeah, younger him.
A younger him, yeah, and they retcon his character again, don't they?
Yeah,
yeah. So it's not really the same Nightcrawler we had.
No.
So why bother?
Yeah. And then we get added is Blink, Warpath, Sunspot, and Bishop, which we've already spoken about. And the most notable character that gets added in is Quicksilver, Evan Peters.
Ah, yes. The introduction of his character was a great addition, I think.
Yes, he's a great addition, but he's too overpowered.
I know. They keep doing that, don't they? Well, guess I got to go now. I'll see you. You know?
Yeah. And Evan Peters is great.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
And and there's it ended up being sort of this weird crossover with WandaVision that ended up not being anything to do with it.
People called it the $1.7 billion crossover.
Yeah.
Because it was Fox when Disney bought Fox. Mm-hmm. So it's like, now we can use Peter Evans as Quicksilver.
But then he wasn't.
No. They kind of left that one go. But apparently they had lots of contractual issues with the Quicksilver character.
Yeah.
So when they brought him into Avengers 2, wasn't it? Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed to call them mutants.
Yeah.
So they called them modified humans or something silly like that they called them.
Inhumans?
I don't know. They didn't call them mutants because they can't call them mutants because that was part of the contractual thing. So they couldn't... Yeah, in Disney, they couldn't call him a mutant. They could use the same name, Peter.
Yeah.
And there was a few other little minor details of the character that they couldn't use. It's so bizarre when you think of all the contractual sort of rigmaroles they got to go through just to have a character on screen and what he can say and what he can do.
Yeah. It is that thing where he would have just solved every problem. Like if he had have been in the entire movie... he could have easily have solved every single problem.
Pretty much roll credit as soon as they got him. He could have just gone and grabbed Mystique and brought him back and said, "Hey, don't kill the guy." And
but then you could say he was kind of this arrogant kid, and they barely got him to agree to do the rescue from the Pentagon, and he only did it because it was the Pentagon. So he's just meant to be like a bratty kid.
Yeah, like a 25-year-old bratty kid.
Yeah, there was nothing in it for him. I think that was the whole.
Yeah.
But then again, they could have said, mutant life on Earth is at risk. I think they could have swayed him if they really wanted to.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they just sort of needed him to get a guy out who was going to fuck everything up anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Prison break? That's illegal,
All right, now we'll talk about the Rogue cut of the movie.
Yes.
So, but first I'll talk about the Rogue issue, because she goes from being the main character of these X-Men movies to a cameo.
A cameo. A non-verbal cameo.
Yeah. And as you were talking before about owning rights to characters, Rogue's powers. So in the comics and in the cartoon series, she can fly and she also has super strength.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't. They're not mutant powers. That she gets those powers from Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel. I can't remember which one. But anyway, Fox don't own the rights to them, so they couldn't give Rogue these powers. But again, they could.
To be honest, a flying character is a bit cheesy sometimes, anyway. So it would have felt out of place if she was flying, because no one flies.
Yes, they do. Magneto, Storm.
Well, Magneto doesn't fly; he levitates on the metal.
Well, like, I don't know. She could have just. It could have been a side effect from that machine from the first movie.
Okay.
Gave her those abilities.
Seeing a character fly is a little cheesy, I think.
Yeah, but she's sort of a bit useless otherwise, because she can only she's kind of weakens her other people to get powers. She needed her own power, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think they didn't really know what to do with her. The other thing is that her character in these movies is absolutely nothing like it is in the comics. She's sort of she's like a sassy smartass. She's like a female Deadpool, just not as foul-mouthed.
Well, she's sort of she doesn't really join the X-Men, does she?
Yeah,
she does, but reluctantly, I think. She kind of leaves
so.
and
No. Well, that's sort of her whole character, is that even though she has.
Hence why the Rogue name, because she's kind of on her own.
No, I think it's Rogue because she can't touch anything.
Okay.
She has to be on her own. She has one of the worst bloody powers that you could have, where you cannot touch anyone without killing them. She steals the life force from people, which so she has this very difficult ability, but she's still really good and still fights on the side of good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you never really get to see that in the movies. Like in the third movie, she gets rid of, she takes the cure.
Yeah, they just wrote her out, I think. There was too many characters in that, movie. They just need to write her out. She takes the cure and moves on. Okay, good.
But the truth is there aren't too many in that movie, because they all get taken out in the first 10 minutes. So there actually aren't for a last stand. Okay, and originally there is a Rogue cut of this movie. So they actually cut her out of this movie.
So we're talking about the Rogue cut. It almost seems like a slightly different film. In the future scenes anyway. So I believe what happened is, I think when Wolverine injures Kitty Pryde, she's injured pretty badly. Yeah. And Iceman decides to break her out.
Yeah, she's been
held captive in Cerebro, I believe.
Yeah, they use Cerebro, yeah.
Well, she was in Cerebro.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's why he couldn't find her.
Yeah.
So somehow they find her, and that's why they need her to take over for Kitty Pryde, because she's injured by Wolverine. And in the process of breaking her out, Iceman dies too.
Yes.
So that's another plot point, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
So again, because he's there throughout the end, towards the ending as well.
Yeah.
Because then there was also the love interest between him and Kitty Pryde as well, which would have been a little awkward, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that sort of came out of nowhere, didn't it?
No, it doesn't come out of nowhere. It's in X-Men 3.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's sort of this triangle. It's part of the reason why Rogue goes and gets the cure.
Oh, okay. So I haven't seen that film in such a long time. Oh, and there was another little love story, side plot.
Oh, yes. Storm
and Wolverine.
Yeah, it's a bit gross, actually.
Yeah, it is. I watched it and they have this little pash kiss. I'm like, oh, gross. It's kind of like watching your parents kiss or something, wasn't it?
And I think, again, that was from the cartoon series.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. There was sort of this alternate universe where they were together.
So I'm glad they took that out, actually. That wasn't it. Didn't need that.
Yep. Another scene that I saw that got removed was Havoc.
Oh, the guy with the tattoo, yeah?
No. The guy. Scott Summers' brother. Oh.
Oh yeah, he was in the.
Yeah.
You see him at the start, don't you?
Yeah.
And we never see him again.
Well, you were meant to.
Yeah, it was kind of weird seeing that guy. That whole, Days of
It's
Our Lives looking.
MacGyver.
Oh, that's why I looked familiar. It was MacGyver. I'm like, oh, who's that guy? That strong chin, good looking bloke.
Yeah. So he was meant to have been captured again. Like he was, and they actually tested the Sentinels on him.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Ew. And he didn't survive.
Yeah, but he does come back in the other movie, so
Yeah, that's confusing.
that's probably why they cut it.
The age difference, he's like another brother to another mother or something. Because he's like 20 in 1973. And Scott Summers is like, what, 30 in...
Yeah, as I said, the Summers timeline doesn't really work very well because Scott Summers is also in Origins.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So why they should have stayed away from Scott Summers. Like I'm watching the movie going, why on earth have they introduced Scott Summers as a kid in this movie? It just throws out the entire
So he's 20 in 1973 and a kid in 1979.
Yeah, it kind of throws out the...
But even in this film, it doesn't make any sense because, he's like, I'm not sure how old Scott Summers is meant to be in 2023 at the end. And it's not 2023 at the end, is it? Or 2012? What year is at the end anyway? Is that 2023?
No, that would have been...
What year was it when he woke up? Oops.
Yeah, it doesn't really... I'm guessing it's like after the...
It should be like the same time, shouldn't it? It should be the year 2023.
Yeah.
Whoops. Silence on that one.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Chuck that up to a little plot hole.
Okay.
You're listing the plot holes, weren't you? Did we list them all?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't list all of them. There's too many. As I said. And I guess it happens when you bring in different writers, directors.
No, it happens when you bring in
creatives.
time travel.
Yeah.
Because then you have Wolverine who's dying, but then we're still seeing in the story of what's happening.
Yeah. So,
because we start with his journey through that past, but then when he's taken out of it, we're still there somehow.
Yeah. So I'll move on and talk about Trask, who's the villain of this story.
Trask, good villain.
Trask, yeah. Trask.
I actually really
Trask.
liked his design. He really looked like a person of the times. They
Yes.
got his hair and his moustache and his
Off the
clothes
glasses.
just perfectly down.
Yeah.
It literally looked like
It
he'd
wasn't
been
too,
yanked.
and that was
from
the
that
other
time.
thing. The costume design in this isn't too over the top, like when they often do like 70s, like when they look back at the 70s, like they kind of go a bit overboard.
Yeah, they'd exaggerate all the high fashion and everyone's wearing that stuff when people probably weren't wearing all that stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of brown leather coats though.
That
People
they did wear.
wear-
Like I have a whole collection of my dad's brown coats that he did not throw away from the 70s.
Yeah, so a lot of those, lots of browns.
Yeah. A lot of brown and yellow and green and...
Probably the one excessive sort of fashion style was that woman with the afro that she turned into.
Yeah.
Kind of looked very Pam Grier.
Yeah.
What was her name? Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
Sort of looked to her.
Foxy Cleopatra.
That's it. Foxy Cleopatra. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Yes. And so Trask, Stryker's back. He's in it again, but this time he's pretty much like low-level grunt. He's trying to work his way up at this point.
He's still well involved in everything that's going on. Like
Yeah.
he's not just out there cleaning toilets with a toothbrush.
But he's pretty much like Trask's right-hand military guy.
Yeah.
And he is a very interesting new villain because he doesn't see himself as a villain. He sees himself as the savior.
But he's basically kind of meant to be Hitler if he was only 4 foot tall. He uses someone as a scapegoat in order to push through a policy that he believes will save humanity.
Well, it's the fact that he takes Xavier's dissertation, his thesis, and sort of twists it for his own plans.
Yeah.
And he doesn't see the evolution of mutants. Like, because he doesn't see mutants as human. He
Yes.
sees them as an entirely different species. Like he even calls Mystique, he calls her a creature. And it's like, don't kill it.
Don't kill it. Yeah.
Don't kill it.
Yeah. I mean, he even refers to the fact of like the Neanderthals went extinct when Homo sapiens took over. Now we're the Neanderthals and they're the new Homo sapiens that are going to, take over us.
Yeah, but he doesn't realize that that's how you survive on the planet is through evolution. He sees it as, no, that's just us being wiped out. So he decides that the best way to unite the world is you unite them against a common enemy.
We have a common enemy.
Which, as he said, is what bloody Hitler did. That is often
Well, you look for the scapegoat, yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that he doesn't even see them as human is the trouble. Like, that's the troubling element.
When he's like looking at her blood and he's like, oh, I'm going to need, spinal tap.
I'm going to need spinal fluid and brain tissue. And
yeah, it's like, oh, okay, we're going to need to kill her then, That's
Yeah.
that's pretty frank. But I think there's a whole sort of nuance in having the actor Peter Dinklage, like a person who is a dwarf, playing this character. And I think it really adds some gravitas to it. So, because you really think that character who's lived his whole life of being persecuted for being different to other people and struggled his whole life, yet he himself is now inflicting his beliefs and treating other people different because of something they're born with.
Yeah.
Which is a whole sort of word to really explain the character.
Arrogance.
Arrogance, yes, is a real arrogance in the character. Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Absolute hypocrisy in the character to be someone who's, look, if he was a dwarf, you've been picked on, all right? There's no doubt about that. Being a dwarf you've had people come up to you and say nasty things. You could just almost guarantee that. Any dwarf out there would know that. So the fact that you would know he's grown up like that, and now he's in a position of power, is going to now inflict his beliefs on other people and make their lives worse.
And of course, dwarfism is a
genetic.
It's a genetic mutation.
Yeah, he didn't choose to be a dwarf. He wasn't, it just it happened to him, and that's just who he is. And he wants people to accept him for who he is, except for mutants who I want to kill. So it was a really good casting choice because it really did make you think, what is this guy talking about? You've been through this shit, so why would you do this to other people?
Yeah, absolutely. Now the next character I'd like to talk about is McAvoy Xavier.
Characteristically, maybe?
We're just going to talk about McAvoy.
Okay, yep.
To start off with. And, you meet this very, very different Xavier. Like, we have not seen this Xavier. We're so used to Patrick Stewart's, wise master.
Yeah, the uptight old fella.
Yeah,
and
teetoting. We're used to the teetoting
captain,
wise, very put together.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up, Wesley.
Professor X. And then we meet him as McAvoy, and he is kind of a broken mess. He's an alcoholic. He's drinking too much. Even B says, he's taking this serum, but he's taking too much of it. So he's using lots and lots of crutches to hide and not deal with his emotions, not deal with what he's feeling. He doesn't want to feel anyone else's feelings anymore.
And they really play into the metaphor of drug addiction.
Yes.
So he's sitting there shooting up. It's very sort of
and Beast
subtle.
And Beast is it's not even subtle.
Yeah.
Beast is there going, oh look, Beast's like, I take just enough to level me out, and he takes too much. So that it fully blocks out. So I think with the serum, it dulls his power, and he can if he took the right dose, it dulls his power and he could still walk. But he has stronger power if he just doesn't take it at all, but he can't walk.
Yeah.
And he is fully going through this existential crisis. And as you said, he's behaving like a heroin addict.
Yeah.
He has fully lost hope. He sees
Defeated. Yeah.
he's fully defeated, broken. Like his school's shut down. He's lost Raven. He's lost his best friend. He's lost the fight for. He doesn't want to fight for mutant rights anymore, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you get this great scene to almost heal his heart a little bit, is to see his future self through Wolverine. Because Wolverine's like, I can't help you. I can't help you. He's like, the only person that I think that can help you is you.
Literally, you.
Literally you. So sends him on this sort of psychic time lapse. I don't know what you call it.
Conference.
Yeah, but
Telephone
anyway.
call.
But, they have this talk, and it's that thing where Professor X talking to Xavier gives him back his hope that he does, pulling from Terminator 2, so to speak, which I think was also an influence on this.
Mm-hmm. No fate what we make.
Yeah, I think there is a line, something like the future's not set.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's that hope that he's like, the future's not set. You still have time to change it. And, yeah, Xavier just gives him back his hope. And then he manages to sort of pull himself together and helps Raven get Raven back on board so that she doesn't turn into Mystique. That was another thing that was cut. There was actually a scene where they all sit down and talk to Mystique.
Okay.
And Wolverine tells her that that she turns into this cold-blooded bitch with so much human and mutant blood on her hands, he wouldn't know where to start.
Do they tell her about the future?
No.
I don't think they do.
No, but there is a scene that's cut out.
Yeah, which is interesting now thinking about it, because they're trying to stop her doing it, but they're just telling her not to do it. Because it's it's not you, it's not the nice thing to do. Not that, oh, by the way, if you do this, you're going to start a whole apocalyptic war that's going to kill everyone. You almost think maybe if they led with that, she might have listened. They just sort of, well, Magneto didn't. He just tried to kill her straight away, didn't he?
Yeah.
He just like, oh, I think it's easier
It's
just
the
to kill
fact
her.
that they don't actually try to talk to her about it.
Yeah. So it's interesting they cut that out, because that almost would have ended the film, I think, because I think she would have come to reason going, oh, really? Was that what happens? Okay, well, maybe I won't kill the guy.
Yeah, but you need to take him out of commission. That's the other thing. Yeah. Okay, just the themes. I think we've actually pretty much gone through most of the themes and metaphors on this. They're a lot of the same ones from 1 and 2, discrimination, prejudice, fear of the unknown.
Well, there is the interesting thing of the backdrop when they go to the future. Go to the past, and they're at the Paris Peace Accords.
Yes.
So I did some reading on that. So that was a real event. Oh,
yeah.
There was no doubt on that. So the South and North Vietnam countries were agreeing to not attack each other or do anything like that, and America was going to pull out because they were done with the war by this stage.
Yeah.
And so they signed all these accords, and they pretty much just broke them all over, and North Vietnam invaded South Vietnam a year later. So, yeah, it was all pointless in the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the movie does kind of weave together themes of, redemption, sacrifice, hope, and addiction. While utilising several metaphors throughout the story.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I got a few things I want to add. Yep. So apparently the opening shot where you see Logan in 1973, he was meant to wear boxer shorts. He was like, nah. In Australia, if you're laying next to a really good looking girl, you're not getting out with boxer shorts or briefs or anything.
Okay. Yeah. All right. It also looked kind of hot. So.
Yeah.
No, I mean as in temperature.
Hot. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah, very hot. And I was reading lots of trivia about this, and I just want to go on about this little tangent.
All right.
IMDb trivias.
Oh, they suck.
They really do suck. There was so many little things that people were saying happened in the film that clearly didn't. One was someone mentioned that there's the scene where Xavier's on the plane and you see the reflection on the table as he's like scratching his leg, like he's getting the feeling back at his leg, or losing the feeling, I should say. And someone says the reflection is actually of Patrick Stewart in the thing, and it's not.
No, it's just McAvoy.
It's McAvoy. Lots of you could see. You can see Quicksilver at the start of the film when the
It's just someone with grey hair.
in the prison walk. Yeah, it's some guy with longish grey hair. I mean, it could be him. It's not established it's him. It could be anybody. The
only one that you see at the start that comes back in the movie is the guy with the ink.
Is that Biohazard or something?
Biohazard or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's got the... But he has a very physical tattoo on his eye that you can see.
Yeah.
So you can
see
tell.
him. He's one of the guys that Mystique breaks out of the prison at the start, and you see him later on the film, like watching the TV, I think. Yeah. So and then at the start of the film. So it's obviously for the second time viewers like, oh, okay, that's that character, because you don't know who it is at the start. It's very quick.
Yeah.
And one more question for you, Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an Irishman, a Scotsman, and an Englishman at a bar, and one of them offers you a drink. So we've got Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, and Nicholas Hoult. Offer you a drink. Who do you say?
I'll go Fassbender.
Don't mind the Aussie guy playing Paul. He's not going to offer you a drink. All right, forget about him.
All right, I'll go Fassbender because I think the Englishman's a bit young.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's 30s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too young.
Yeah, way too young.
And no Scotsman.
Saints be praised. I'm from Scotland.
He's got acid.
No, I'll go Fassbender. Yeah.
Fassbender.
Fassbender.
Fassbender. I like Fassbender.
Perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And one other thing I want to add on. So, Bing Bing fan.
Oh, yes.
So, when this film came out, she got...
Something weird happened. I just remember something weird happened with her.
Well, it wasn't really...
She just kind of disappeared?
Yeah, well... So she disappeared. So it was in 2018. So this came out in 2014. So 4 years later, she disappeared. She's huge in China, by the way. She's like she's like Jennifer Lawrence over there. You know, she's absolutely massive.
I've seen the edits.
Yeah. So she disappeared from public eye. It was only for a few months, though. It wasn't like years or anything. It turned out she'd not paid her taxes.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird for someone to disappear for not paying their taxes, and maybe they just want to go underground. But it was sort of played off as if she'd been sort of kidnapped by the Chinese government. I remember lots of conspiracy theories were going around that where's Bing Bing? You know, release Bing Bing. So that was quite popular at the time, and it was only for a few months, so it wasn't like years or anything like that she disappeared from. So she might have just wanted to lay low until like all the shit blew down. So apparently it's a common thing where people will have two contracts. When doing films, they have a contract that they show the tax and the contract they're doing under the table. Yeah. So that's what was claimed that she did. She denied it, but ended up paying like $120 million in tax to the government. Yeah. Which for her, she's still going. So how much money she does have, oh, God.
That's an awful lot of money. I don't even think she would have made that much for this movie.
No, I doubt it. I don't think she's paid that much, but... so she admitted to it, but public apologised and paid $1.27 million US in taxes.
Wow!
To avoid criminal persecution. So that's what happened to Bing Bing.
Huh. Okay. All right,
Eddie. Anything else you want to add in, Eddie?
No, I'm good.
All right, let's get into question time then.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
All right, Eddie, question time. Which character was your favourite, Eddie?
I'm going to go Mystique for this one.
Mystique?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I went young Xavier.
Yeah.
As I said before, it felt like watching your dad when he was younger.
Yeah.
He's actually a pretty cool guy. I might have got along with him.
Yeah.
There's something really likable about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question, Eddie. Favorite scene?
I think it's got to be the
Intro.
No? Quicksilver in the
Oh,
kitchen scene. Mainly because I think that's the most iconic scene from this movie.
And they just keep rehashing it now, don't they?
When I think of this movie, that's like it's the scene that gets parodied.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely that. Yeah, I went the intro scene. Yeah, I think I lost that one. I think he won that one. I was also going to say Xavier meeting his younger self. So the two characters, generational characters, meeting each other who played the same character. There's something very harmonious about it.
Yeah.
I felt there's like it all goes full circle.
Yeah.
So,
but it also felt like a very pivotal moment, even though it's that weird thing where you have this ticking clock.
Yeah.
And you just like, how do you quickly get someone to pull themselves together?
You have to find your inner self. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said,
Literally.
Wolverine couldn't help him. And the only person that Wolverine could think to help him was him.
My head hurts.
My head hurts. Yeah.
All right. Best quote.
It's got to be Charles McAvoy Xavier. You know, I think I do remember you now. Yeah. A tall, angry fellow with contentious hair. We came to you a long time ago seeking your help. And I'm going to say to you what you said to us then. Fuck off.
Go fuck yourself.
Hang on. Mine's actually also Charles Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
You're on acid. Someone gave you really bad acid? He kind of says it's a question. Someone gave you really bad acid? Does that work? No?
Yeah.
Next question, Eddie. Best stunt?
I think ours are very different, but it's got to be at the Peace Accords. Mystique. I don't know, she kind of throws the guy and then goes under the table.
That's where she's the North Vietnamese commander guy and then shape shifts?
Yeah. So as she's shape shifting and then she manages to fight them all off and then sort of dodges the gun and then I don't know, she does all these flippy yeah,
I think she does a breakdancing move on the table as well.
Yeah.
Is that one of those Brazilian sort of fighting styles or something? Fighting
I know the
thing?
one that you I know the one that
yeah.
Capoeira.
Yeah.
Capoeira. I'm just getting it wrong.
But I swear she does like the breakdancing on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, that was kind of my one too. But I love the sliding under the table part. I thought that was really good that she did that. Yeah. He's standing there looking, and she just slides right under there.
But I think I like the first part where she actually throws the guy at him first.
Shit.
Yeah.
Next question, Eddie. Who gets the wooden spoon?
I was going to give it to Magneto. Like, he should have told himself to not.
Don't get me.
Yes. Like, he should have told Wolverine, I'm
in the best place ever, in a prison under the Pentagon.
Just leave me
there.
Leave me where I am. I'm not going to be any help. I'm a dick.
Yeah. I'm just going to make things worse. I always do.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. He's like, I've got my own ideologies. I've got my own...
I'm just going to fuck it up for everyone. I always do.
Yeah, I've got my own scorched earth plans.
My wooden spoon was Warpath. I don't know. He just had knives.
No. He has sense. Like, he was the one... He could spot the Sentinels to give him enough... So his whole job was to be able to sense. Like, he has heightened senses. So he could sense when they were on their way. And he gave the warning...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of felt like those, as good as those guys were, they were, I don't know.
He was the last one standing in that fight scene. Like, he was the last one. Yeah.
Oh, hang on. I remember thinking the Human Torch guy. Like, he seemed to have a lot of this power, but he was kind of useless, though, wasn't he? He got slammed every time.
Yeah, I'd say the Sunspot dude was way more useless than Warpath.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's who I meant. I got their names confused. Sunspot, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Next question, Eddie. Who gets the Oscar?
Oh, I think it's got to be McAvoy.
McAvoy? Yeah. Oh, I was gonna, but then I went Jennifer Lawrence.
All right.
Yeah.
I might also give a little shout out to Fassbender for
I bet you would, wouldn't you?
for the scene in the plane. His voice almost sounds like Ian McKellen's in that scene.
Okay.
Like when he starts getting angry and starts like yelling at Xavier, like when he starts getting really
You
angry.
should have killed me when you had the chance.
Yeah, it was like the way, I don't know, the way that he spoke, he sounded exactly like Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether they'd done an audio, like something where they'd put some audio over the top to make it kind of sound a bit like Ian McKellen, or it was just really good acting. I don't know, but I noticed it.
What's it mean? Perfection.
Yes.
So next question, Eddie, LOL moment.
I think it's Charles saying, "I'm not one for violence." It's the one when they're in the Pentagon. He's like, "I'm not one for violence," and then the elevator door opens and he sees Magneto says hi, and Xavier just immediately like punches him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad timing. My LOL moment. I don't know. I mentioned the you're on acid moment.
Yeah.
I do like the scene when Wolverine first appears in the past. And they're accusing him of sleeping with the girl. It's like, oh, no, I didn't sleep with her. I mean, yeah, I did sleep with her plenty of times, but that wasn't me. That was another me.
Yeah.
Try and talk you out of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and final question, Eddie. What do you rate this movie out of 10 using something from the movie?
I would rate this 8 out of 10 mutant detectors.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of mutant detectors. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty handy.
Yeah.
It's funny how actually that's kind of an LOL moment when he puts it on. So this can detect mutants and it starts going off straight away. And he's like, okay.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
I gave it 9.5 brown leather jackets.
So there's a lot of brown
There's
leather.
a lot of brown leather jackets.
There's a lot of
in
brown
here.
leather jackets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they needed to add some corduroy ones in there.
Yeah, they probably could have. Yeah. Some corduroy. Yeah. Long live corduroy.
Probably easier to get leather. So.
Yeah. You have to make their own corduroy, probably.
Or actually find some from the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Eddie. Was there anything else you wanted to add in?
We need to pick a new movie.
Oh, do we? Oh, yes, we do. Oh, and the thing's right next to me. How's that? So what we did with these ones was said we pick a movie out of a hat. It's not really a hat. It's a SeaWorld Gold Coast Cup. For all intents and purposes, for all you know, it's a hat. So it's a cowboy hat, is it? So when we picked one out, we actually picked 3 at once.
Yeah, so some of the choices had multiple, like you couldn't just do one movie, you had to do...
Yeah, we had to do them all. Yeah.
So some of them do have multiple movies on there. So
I hope it's not Star Wars. We just watched Star Wars. All right, so I'm going to shake it. The hat. It's not a SeaWorld Cup. And I'm going
Make sure no spiders have gotten in there as well.
Oh, as I put my hand in there. Thank you.
Don't want to get bitten by a redback.
Oh, shit, there is a spider in it now. All right, shaking, and digging right in there. Oh, something's moving. Got 1, got 3. Got 1. Is it 1? Got 1, and it is... Ooh, moon.
Ooh.
I thought we weren't doing highbrows.
I didn't even know I put that in there.
Moon?
Totally forgot
Is
about
that
that.
the what's his face? Guy from Galaxy Quest?
Yes.
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 What's his name? All
Gone
right,
out of my head.
come back next week when we find out who started Moon. I know Kevin Spacey was in it
Yeah.
as the robot. Guy Person?
Starts with a Q.
Guy Person.
No, it's just
That was his name in
Guy Person.
Yeah.
Guy Person in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah. So stay tuned and we find out who starred in Moon because there's only 2 actors in there. Don't whisper at me. I don't know. I can't remember his name. Do I have to look it up? I have to look it up, don't I?
Yeah.
All right. Bear with us. We have to look it up now. because there's only 2 actors in that movie. That is a great movie, though, starring... Well, it was directed by David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones. I know that.
Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell. Well, I knew that. So stay tuned. Now, I think we probably might do a Buffy episode next week, and then we'll come back to Moon or something, do a couple of Buffy.
I think we need to do the next 2 Buffy episodes in a row, to be honest.
Right. So 2 in a row, then back to Moon, all right?
Yeah.
I swear, I promise. But on that note, well, I hope you've enjoyed listening to us tonight. We are Nerd Subculture. My name is Jarrod.
I'm Edwina.
And if you like what you're listening to, great. Thank you. Hope you're enjoying it. But if you want to go beyond that, what can you do, Eddie?
Yeah, you can follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. There's a Facebook page. And you can email us at nerdsubculture@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or you can support the podcast by buying some merch that you can get to on the link tree on the socials.
Yeah. Well, there's heaps to do. Do it. Or not. But until next time, take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.
You're on acid. Somebody gave you really bad acid.